The drama surrounding Jake Paul reached a level no one saw coming when the footage from November 15th surfaced, shattering the ironclad persona he had spent years creating. The world saw him not in the ring, not on a podcast, not on a yacht surrounded by flashing cameras and exaggerated bravado, but in the back seat of a police squad car. His wrists were bound, his voice cracked with panic, and the confident facade collapsed in real time as he begged officers not to arrest him. This wasn't the loud, untouchable internet titan fans were used to. This was a man cornered by the consequences he had been dodging for far too long, suddenly stripped of the armor that fame usually provides. His downfall didn't start with the arrest. It began quietly, in whispers and rumors, with reports that Jake had been placing recklessly large wagers, bets that ranged from $50,000 to $250,000 each. These weren't casual bets placed over beers on a Sunday afternoon. These were deliberate high-risk wagers tied to fights he was personally involved in, including prop bets on rounds, punch counts, and knockout predictions. Some insiders even suggested he had bet against himself in certain situations, turning the sport into a dangerous game of financial roulette. Every gamble stacked the odds against him, and each time he pushed the limit, he raised the stakes of his own destruction. By the time law enforcement got involved, the situation had become a volatile mix of ego, pressure, and spiraling risk. The squad car footage tore away whatever remained of his carefully curated legacy. Millions watched as he tried to justify himself, looking less like a superstar and more like a frightened kid caught in a mess of his own making. The panic in his voice contrasted sharply with the tough guy image he had built over the years. Gone was the daring young mogul who flaunted wealth and challenged the world to doubt him. Instead, viewers saw someone exhausted, overwhelmed, and painfully aware that his actions had finally cornered him. Behind the public embarrassment was an even darker truth. The weight of lawsuits, the risk of federal charges, and the very real possibility of severe financial collapse. As the internet replayed the footage in an endless loop, more cracks began to appear in the narrative Jake had been selling to the world. His cancelled fight with Gervonta Tank Davis was a major turning point. Jake had proudly spun the story, claiming he backed out because he was taking a moral stand and that Netflix had abruptly pulled out due to ethical disagreements. For a while, fans believed him, applauding what they assumed was a moment of rare principle. But insiders painted a much different portrait. The real reason behind Jake's withdrawal wasn't righteousness at all. It was fear. His training was off, his weight was nowhere near contract requirements, and facing Tank in a high-stakes match terrified him. On top of that, he reportedly had over $1 million placed on prop bets related to the fight. If he stepped into the ring unprepared, the financial loss could be catastrophic. Canceling wasn't a heroic move. It was survival. The gambling scandal intertwined with the cancelled fight until the two were impossible to separate. Jake wasn't just betting. He was allegedly gambling on precise fight outcomes, including events directly influenced by his own performance. In the eyes of investigators, that blurred the line between athlete and manipulator. Authorities began digging into potential fraud, insider influence, and illegal betting activity. With federal agencies potentially circling, the footage of him pleading with police became more than a viral humiliation. It became evidence of a man crumbling under pressure as his empire shook beneath him. Social media devoured every moment. Clips broke down his stammers, his gestures, the desperation in his tone. For someone who had built a career on commanding attention, the new kind of attention he was receiving became unbearable. Every shaky breath, every attempt to rationalize his mistakes, every hint of panic became the subject of endless memes and commentary videos. But beneath the noise, the consequences loomed far larger than internet embarrassment. Sponsors began distancing themselves. Brands hesitated to associate with someone under investigation for illegal gambling and potential fight manipulation. In the influencer world, credibility isn't just important, it's currency. And Jake Paul was burning through it faster than he ever burned through cash. The emotional toll on him was visible. The bravado melted into frantic bargaining. He appealed to authority instead of defying it. For a man who built his fame confronting conflict head-on, it was jarring to watch him shrink in the presence of real consequences. But fear changes people. And Jake wasn't just afraid of jail or lawsuits. He was afraid of losing the identity he had crafted. The fearless fighter, the entrepreneur, the man who claimed he was always in control. In that squad car, Control slipped completely out of his hands, and for the first time the world watched the real Jake Paul emerge. Behind the scenes, investigators were piecing together mounting evidence of betting irregularities. The possibility of charges related to fraud, illegal gambling, or financial manipulation was very real. Combined with civil lawsuits, fines, legal fees, and the collapse of potential fight revenue, the scandal threatened to drain millions from his portfolio. The financial hit alone could reshape his entire career, especially in a world where perception is everything. Each viral clip widened the gap between Jake and the trust of his audience. And without trust, influencer boxing, Jake's main revenue engine, loses its fuel. His future now hangs in a delicate balance. The invincible persona he polished for years has cracked, revealing vulnerability beneath the neon lights and staged confidence. Whether he rebounds or continues to spiral will depend on how he handles the fallout from this scandal. The fight world is watching. The brands are watching. And perhaps most importantly, the audience that built him is watching. What comes next will define whether Jake Paul stages a comeback or becomes another cautionary tale of fame, ego, and reckless ambition colliding under the unforgiving glare of the public eye. If you've been following this saga, the questions now practically ask themselves. Can Jake Paul rebuild his reputation after such a catastrophic fall? Will he return stronger, more controlled, and more transparent? Or will this scandal permanently overshadow everything he's done in the ring and online? And most importantly, what does this moment mean for influencer boxing as a whole? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Jake can recover? Or is this the beginning of the end for his larger-than-life persona? If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next deep dive.